Joining me now is New York Congresswoman Claudia Tenney and Florida Congresswoman Anna Paulina Luna, whose district at this moment appears to be right in the path of Hurricane Milton. Ladies, thank you so much for being here. And it is, you know, what anybody says about politics, this is a very serious moment. Lives are at risk, in danger. Lives are still being lost because of the previous hurricane. So we want to take it seriously. But Claudia Tenney, I'll come to you first. It does seem like there's some grandstanding going on by Kamala Harris, who, of course, is running for president, because the president right now, Biden, says he's finding it very easy to cooperate with Florida Governor DeSantis. So what do you make of all this?
Yeah, well, first, David, my heart goes out to everyone in Florida. I have a lot of friends there. I'm admitted to the bar there. I know my colleague, Anna Paulina Luna, has been in the middle of this from day one. She's working really hard, as are all the Florida reps, trying to do what they can. And obviously, Governor DeSantis is fantastic. And he certainly doesn't have time for a do-nothing vice president who is suddenly trying to look like she's doing something. I find it extremely disturbing that our president, who, by the way, isn't sure what's going on, who's being propped up by staff, is not supportive of the vice president who's now running for president. And it just tells you a lot about the lack of leadership in our country and the strength that is coming from Ron DeSantis and other true leaders and other members of Congress, especially like Anna Paulina Luna, Corey Mills, and so many others who are on the ground trying to rescue people because FEMA is not coming to their rescue, a federal bureaucracy that is actually hurting a lot of people. And I've been through this with flooding, believe it or not, in upstate New York, but I have the Great Lake of Lake Ontario and all the Finger Lakes. So we do have issues even in upstate New York. Right.
Well, we're going to talk about FEMA in just a second. But Congresswoman Luna, what has been your understanding about the communication between the White House and Governor DeSantis? Because by the president's account, it's going well. And Governor DeSantis himself says he hasn't had any need to contact Vice President Harris because she's not the one authorizing all of the funds and everything that's needed by the state.
Well, look, you just nailed it on the head. That's 100% accurate. What I'm finding right now is that there has been blatantly obvious, I think, positioning by Kamala Harris to use this as a means of making us look bad here in Florida, when in actuality it appears that Biden, and I've been highly critical of President Biden, but he actually has stepped up to the plate, got on a call with Governor DeSantis today, and also Mayor Kathy Castor. So that was a bipartisan phone call to assist in the relief efforts. And I will say that Governor DeSantis is ready and prepared for this. He has already activated 6,000 National Guard. We have 500 ambulances that are staging out of Tropicana Field. You know, recently with Hurricane Helene, we had 12 deaths. We've been doing everything we can to get people to evacuate. And now is not the time for partisan nonsense out of Kamala Harris's office. She needs to grow up, do her job, and help us save lives. And if she can't, she needs to step aside and let someone else do it for her.
Well, specifically, staying with you, Congresswoman Luna, for a second, is your district getting everything that it needs right now in preparation for Milton?
As of right now, I would say that FEMA could do a heck of a lot better in giving us the funds that we need to help our residents, because most of our residents, over 50,000 residents actually with Helene, are actually going to be unable to return back home. And so we have a ton of work to do on the ground. But what I will also say is we are going to need massive relief efforts in regards to bringing supplies in, because as of right now, if this lands as a category 3 or 4, the infrastructure devastation that's going to take place, I don't know how bad that's going to be, but what I do know is it will be catastrophic and there will be lives lost.
Congresswoman Tenney, you mentioned FEMA before. Of course, a lot of questions about whether it has what it needs, and a lot of that came from the man himself. DHS controls FEMA funds, the Department of Homeland Security. That's Secretary Mayorkas. Here's what he said a few days before we were in the worst, or we realized the worst of what was happening with Helene. Roll tape.
We are meeting the immediate needs with the money that we have. We are expecting another hurricane hitting. We do not have the funds. FEMA does not have the funds to make it through the season.
Said he does not have the funds to make it through the seasons. Well, there's a whistleblower out there who says that there are $7 billion of unrequisitioned funds available that can be made available. I suspect he didn't know that at the time. Otherwise, he wouldn't say we've run out of funds. Or if he did, there's some obfuscation going on for some reason. What's going on with the DHS right now?
David, you're giving them the benefit of the doubt. Let's be honest here. They know they've been spending this money on illegal immigrants, overseas payments to Ukraine, and now they want to reimburse Lebanon, which is controlled by Hezbollah, which has been bombing and sending missiles into Israel, our ally in the Middle East. And look, FEMA has got a lot of problems in terms of bureaucracy, but when you're not meeting the needs of the people in North Carolina and the people in Florida and the people in harm's way, that's exactly what FEMA was designed for. Mayorkas knows that they've been shifting these funds away from Americans, and every American should not only know this, they should be outraged, and whistleblowers are going to continue to come forward and tell us exactly how this money is being wasted by the Biden administration. And by the way, Kamala Harris has been busy going on TV shows and like Call Me Daddy and all these other bizarre shows that have nothing to do with communicating with most Americans. And she needs to do that if she's going to be a serious player or even being taken seriously, I guess is a better way to put it, by anyone out there. And she is just proving that she is not ready for this job to be the president of the United States or commander in chief.
Well, and there are big questions about what is happening with control in the ending of the Biden administration. I mean, there's a lot of loose parts going on, particularly when we have a crisis like this, a double crisis. You wonder how it's going to turn out. We heard Peter Doocy at the beginning of this segment give his report. What he didn't play because not because he's shy, but because he was focusing on other things. I'm going to play right now his exchange with a White House spokesperson that took place yesterday. He asked a very decent question. Here's how she responded. Roll tape.
If he's got money for people in Lebanon right now, without Congress having to come back, what does it say about his values? There's not enough money right now for people in North Carolina who need it. That's not misinformation.
No, the way you're asking me the question is misinformation. Yes. What you're asking me is why Congress needs to come back and do their job. That's what you're asking me. Congress needs to come back and do their job and provide extra assistance, extra funding to disaster relief fund.
But Congresswoman, why does the Congress have to come back if FEMA runs out of money when in fact the executive branch of the government right now can spend an extra $157 million on aid relief to people in Lebanon? I mean, they're doing that without Congress. Why can't they have some emergency funding for FEMA if it needs it?
Look,
Which
Congressman Luna, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Okay.
Yeah, it's okay. In my experience, when they want to find the money, they can find it. And it's been my opinion that this is highly political. But, I want to go back to something that you said earlier. There seems to be conflicting messaging even out of the White House. I'm getting reports that Kamala Harris and Jill Biden staffers got into a fight because it's bad blood, because Joe Biden's not seeking re-election. Meanwhile, all of this is happening. I have people that are looking at losing everything in my community in Pinellas County. I had an evac. I don't even know if I'm going to get home with my own, to a home to begin with. And I will say that, we have friends that had responded to North Carolina, and they said that they were searching for people with cadaver dogs. And instead of finding bodies, they're finding entrails because that area just got so heavily destroyed. So I don't have time to deal with the drama out of the White House. But what I do need is I need strong leadership. And I think people need to look deeply as to what's happening right now in this country and think about who you want to lead us for the next 4 years. Because I'm telling you right now, it ain't going to be Kamala Harris. She's dropping the ball. And this is horrifying, especially being that we're looking at a Cat 4 landfall the next 24 hours. Yeah, well, Congresswoman, we are praying for your district in particular. We hope you don't receive the brunt of what could be a terrible, terrible tragedy. But we are with you. We wish the White House would get its act together. Apparently, President Biden thinks he has with Governor DeSantis. Governor DeSantis hasn't said anything to the contrary in dealing with Biden. The question is Kamala Harris and what role she's playing in all in this, and I don't think we solved that question tonight. Good to see you both, ladies. Thank you very much for being here.